Hello, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Improv and Magic. I'm your host, LD Madera, and folks, I am excited about today's episode, because today, in this special 2-hour episode, I get to talk to two of the most amazing and well-known performers in improv. They are the incredible team of Tara DeFrancisco and Rance Rizzutto. Tara and Rance are the stars of their own duo musical improv show called Hear the Musical, which has been performed in 24 countries around the world. They own and operate the Nest Theater in Ohio, and they run a 4-day camping experience called the Improv Retreat, which they've been running since 2012. I have been fortunate enough to watch these two in action, and I've had the honor and privilege of getting to know both of them and learn from them as well. There is so much joy and laughter in this episode. I had an amazing time with them, and you'll hear how passionate they are, not just for what they do, but sharing it with others and inspiring everyone. In this episode, you'll also hear from their two wonderful dogs, Clark and Anderson. Around the beginning of this episode, you'll hear that Tara and Rance's contractor arrived, which causes the dogs to start barking. And after that, well, they just couldn't seem to stop. But I figured, hey, why cut them out? Let's make them part of the show too. Well, I hope you're ready to be amazed by these two wonderful and beautiful people. So let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, here are my guests, Tara DeFrancisco and Rance Rizzutto. It is with so much joy in my heart that I get to say that joining me now are two of the most amazing people I've had the pleasure of meeting, Tara and Rance. How are you doing, guys?
Awesome. We're good. Yeah, it's so good to see you.
My goodness, it is so good to see you guys. I mean, you two are just always happy people, which is what I also love.
Well, we try our best.
I could have done this with just either one of you, but for me, if I did that, it wouldn't have really felt right to me because I tend to think of you two as one, really. You know, I can't think of Tara without thinking about Rance, and can't think about Rance without thinking about Tara. Yeah. Do you think that's normal for you guys? Are you two commonly looked at as one unit all the time, wherever you go?
Gosh, I feel like we're maybe not always seen as one, but we're like kind of a symbiotic pair. Whereas like often where I am, Rance might be, and often where Rance is, I might be. Probably because even when we were friends way back in the day, 20 years ago, a lot of our projects were shared, I would say. I mean, we certainly have independent work, but it seems like a lot of our stuff is in tandem.
Yeah, especially after starting a theater together, it's just kind of like the flow is better for an easy explanation. Like even with classes for a while in our training center, like it became kind of like I would teach 2 and she would teach 3, and we've just sort of like fallen in this better pattern of like we will teach them, and it's more fun to be there together when we can.
That's true. I think when you're raising a community too, and you're kind of trying to get a community barn raising to happen, like meaning there was a community here in CBUS, as we call it. But when we moved from Chicago, we were so used to teaching independently, and certainly still do in some projects. But I think that when we were kind of like fostering this sort of small community into becoming what is now a way much larger community in Columbus, it just became more interesting to have both of our eyes on everyone, so we could be kind of shepherding them into their own cool truth and experimental art, that we could see everyone at the same time and like laugh with them alongside rather than kind of at them from one angle or another.
Yeah, I've certainly had the pleasure of having some workshops with you guys, and that definitely comes through whenever you're teaching us and you're guiding us. you do have that sense where you're here to laugh with us and enjoy our time with us, which is, it's always such a special moment. When you teach workshops and when you teach improv to different people, what are some of the things that you're trying to get across to them?
I think there's a lot of there's a lot of little nuanced things that we're not so much trying to get across to them, but we're trying to get them to get rid of that have already been like ingrained in them. But for the most part, we're trying to, like, if anything could be said about our motto and our theater's motto, it's who are these people and how do they feel about each other? Meaning people seem to have difficulty trusting that they can just present two characters who feel a way about each other, and that's enough. It seems like so many different factors coming into play. We usually say, like, you've been watching movies and watching TV and reading books, and they all have the conflict and the situation and the premise that need to be fixed. And so when you don't know what to do, your brain has all that data and leans on that, but your brain forgets to create characters who care and are or don't care vehemently about each other.
That does seem to be the wave of the future. I mean, it certainly helped us when we were young guns, kind of being like, how do we figure out, the game of the scene, or like sort of the playfulness and pattern of the scene, and that stuff to us feels like the icing on the cake. Meaning that I've kind of adapted this. Rance and I were just talking about this weirdly, but we were kind of teaching our level 3 students, which is sort of our actors unit, that basically the protein of the scene is the relationship between two people, and the sugar of the scene is the game or the pattern or the play that goes on top of that. And the challenge of that is, if you don't have protein first, you don't want sugar. And if you have sugar if you don't have protein first, you won't earn the sugar. And if you have sugar first, you don't often want protein. So the audience will kind of learn that they don't have to invest in your relationship because they're getting sort of like dappled by these gamey tricks. Mm-hmm. But the hard part is when the sugar wears out, it's just like a sugar crash. It's like there's nothing to talk about. So we've sort of implemented this design in our program that feels robust in the way that it's like, are we really investing in the humans that are in the scene, or characters, shouldn't limit it to humans, that are in the scene, and do they have real feelings towards one another that can be capitalized upon so that we've earned the play? Similar to, even like, that's a lot of long form that we do at our theater, but even in short form, same thing, that sometimes people do the actual game gimmick to cover up the scene work of the scene. And it seems like scene work should be fundamentally solid and just for it to have earned the like play of the mechanic of a short form game. So all those things translate across the board. We have like a core curriculum that you go through all these units, and then you can spin out to your favorite alleyway. Basically, we call them like a bliss path. You can take a bliss path if you like. I like short form more than musicals, or I like, heralds more than sketch, whatever. It's like you can kind of choose your lane, but you have to have the fundamentals of that. Who are these people and how do they feel? Like Rance was saying.
Yeah. Well, you've also gotten to teach people not just here in the United States, but also in different parts of the world. Yeah. Do you notice a difference in different countries, the way people take to improv?
Oh, hell yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Do tell.
It's also very like country based, I'd say. Like you can see clear distinctions.
I think that we've talked a number of times about how a lot of it's really advantageous. Like a lot of European improvisers, for example, are really trained in Johnstone. So meaning that they have like short form and platform and things like that, and kind of the belly. So that when we went over there to teach Harold, for example, or teach musicals, for example, there was sort of this undefined space where people were kind of like ready to lean into it. The advantage of that is short formers are great at like picking up play. So if they haven't done long form yet, then they can kind of they just have to like enrich the relationship, because it's not done in 3 minutes often. So it just was kind of like digging into the hearts of the characters that were being played, and then letting them have back what they're already good at. So it was a lot of that. We also noticed, like Rance was saying, that some countries are better at like we taught in Estonia. Like we could go on about that for a long time. We taught in Estonia for a while, and they were really good at being like very physical. They were like almost like commedia dell'arte when we first got there. That it was like very clowny, and in a way that like America is missing. I think that could be looked at as a detriment, but it only kind of like made the stage more appealing. And in Germany, we taught there for a number of times, and it was all of them were really good at being okay with things not necessarily being comedic. It was like the drama of improv was like already in their bones because of like these like old playwrights and stuff they had all studied. So they were just more willing to kind of like let it be what it was rather than like have that adrenaline fueled nightmare that we all can have if like the audience isn't laughing here. Have you noticed anything else, Rance, like that?
No, that's like the same vibe. And I apologize if you begin edit, Mark. I had to take a call from our electrician right as you were saying that, so I had to miss that.
Thank you.
But a thing that I've noticed is a lot of people in European countries have taken the Herald from the IO intensive. Did you talk about that?
I said we went over there for that, but not that it was IO specific.
Great. So I've seen a lot of people probably went to the IO intensive, learned the Herald, and then did their best to take it back. So you kind of see this, each country is kind of a seed of the person who could remember what they could remember. And so every place that had someone already doing the Herald, they all had their own different versions that were like, oh, there's the other guy. Hold on.
Here it is.
Can you hold everybody?
You get it? Yes. You get it? No problem. Do your thing. Do your thing.
Hang tight. That was my best. That was my best story. Hold on, I got to go help because I got to wrangle the dogs.
Yeah. Go for it. Go for it.
Oh, guys, come here. Come. All the way.
Okay, LD.
All right.
Here's the deal. Good news, we think mostly, but one of our contractors isn't coming now. So this is like better.
Really?
Yeah.
It's raining.
There's
so
some in our house.
They were gonna have
to.
They were gonna dig the trench outside.
Yeah,
so
raining.
You would have heard like they would have been like right in the middle of a great story, and you would have heard like.
Now at least we're in the clear, we think.
Cool. So where were we?
Here, I'll start over like just to
Harold stuff and yeah.
I'm
totally leaving this in, by the way, because I think it's great.
we should say we're building a tiny house, and it's we have like no less than 6 contractors at our house, and LD's being the most gracious host in America.
When we were gone, were you like, this is a good time to say this podcast brought to you by NordVPN. NordVPN.
Get your mattress.
Yeah, if I could start doing commercials, that's the perfect place to add it.
Awesome. So
yeah, you need cereal? Go to Magic Spoon. Anyway,
Magic Spoon cereal.
Great time to take off.
Anyway,
yeah. So the gist of what I was saying before we were so knowingly interrupted by what we expected to be interrupted by. A lot of people from other countries have come to Chicago to learn improv, to learn the Herald, and then they take their knowledge back to their country, and they become sort of like the prophet of improv and teach what they know. But you'll have like in Germany where they didn't remember group game diversity so well, so when they do a group game, they all do the same thing together, or what have you. Like someone forgets how to do the beats, or someone forgets that like we should have emotion, or so it's like each city or each country kind of had their own vibe going on of like, here's our 75% of what the Herald is, and here's your 75%.
Yeah, they're doing a good job, and it's also like basically what old folklore was, meaning like it's stories passed from person to person, but now it's just this like kind of improv pedagogy, which is cool because in a way it sort of birthed something new. I mean, you could argue that things get forgotten, and that's true if you're being like really precious about the old ways, but also when people forget things, they have to adapt so that they sort of make new things happen because there is no old way. So there's advantages too. There's like a lot of really interesting innovation when people don't have tradition. It's like a nice thing for us to see, especially in the world where we're trying to build like a kind of new style of theater. It's exciting to have like be reverent of the old, but not be precious about everything.
Yeah. Well, I do see that happening a lot even here in the States, where somebody will learn something and then try to pass it down. And of course, it's kind of like the game telephone. Like it gets
Mhm.
passed along and then it's not really the same thing. But, while people may say, well, you're not doing it correctly, there's a lot of growth that can come from that because you get the
Mhm.
opportunity to create something new that we didn't expect. You can create a new type of Harold that we
Exactly.
never saw.
Yeah, that's right. That's
And
right.
that's that's the magic of it. Like the biggest problem with the Herald is when people rigidly try to stick to it, and then the fun is gone.
Yeah.
It's just math.
That's true. I mean, we certainly like a lot of long form is affected by Harold too, and we don't like. I don't love when people feel like they have to get it right, but they fall out of presence
Mhm.
with their friends and the magic and potential that's there. Because if this thing falls off the rungs tonight, then that's okay. And I think I've really started to cling to and consistently repeat is every form is a net in which to catch you rather than a prison in which to keep you, which is like something we say to our students over and over is like, this thing is a protection device. It's just let you know, maybe you have a language with your friends that you know how to speak, but like, if it's time for something else, it's time for something else rather than kind of missing opportunity in these like beautiful magic moments that could happen from advanced performance.
Yeah. Well, one thing I hear a lot from our guy David Christopher, who of course you guys know very
Yay.
well,
Yeah.
he talks about all the time about how you can try to do this technically perfect, or you can just try to have sloppy fun. And what's even more fun is just watching the sloppy fun happen, because a lot of times that's when the real fun happens. And if you think about the audience, sure they appreciate things being technically perfect, but they just love more the sloppy fun.
That's so true. Like, especially if the people performing it are high level and they know how to kind of be performers about things that go off the rails. The sloppiness isn't even that sloppy. It's just more like impish or something. It's like things are wrong and we're okay with it is maybe the most delightful things can be. It's like something we didn't expect. I know I always get really tickled by improvisers sort of being scared to improvise. Is that fair? That seems like a very like duh statement to make, but it is true that we study so much on how to do this well that I think we think well means right, and it isn't the same. They're not equivalent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that
There
in
is
the
no
midst
right.
of talking
Yeah.
about sloppy fun that our dogs are just riddling this podcast with barks. So this is
like a new
this is a
atmospheric
dog
podcast
cast
for
now.
LD.
It's a dog cast.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say the dogs are also a big part of this podcast
Yeah.
today.
They're really in it. They're really in
Yeah.
it. They are so good at improv. They just had to jump on with a walk-in.
They have
Yeah,
to.
they walked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you guys, I'm not sure what episode number this is, but in the previous episodes I've had, there are two names that keep getting referenced over and over and over again, and that's you. So many times. Oh, yeah. So many times people say, well, yeah, it's like what I learned from Tara and Rance. Or, oh, yeah, it's like what Tara and Rance say. You two have been referenced so many times.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, why not? I mean, how do you feel knowing that you've been all over the world and you've been sharing this art form with people, and people are really so influenced by you and have learned so much? How does that make you feel to know that you've inspired so many people in this craft?
That is so sweet. I
Yeah.
honestly, everyone you've had on your show is a plant.
Yes. This is all
Yeah,
going
they pay
to
me
plan.
$20 Venmo.
Yeah. I mean, Rance, you go first. I don't want to like jump on. I know how I
think
feel.
I think it's well overdue. And
Finally,
I think that's
this
great.
improv money is coming in, baby.
Yeah, I think it's great, and it's man, like all we really do I feel like when I was more solo pre us being together, my focus is on like the mechanics of things, but knowing Tara and being with Tara has really like changed my skew to be like that stuff is still there, but it's way more the heart, and it's way more the connection, and way more the not just the what's going on stage, but what's going on with the team. What's the dynamic? Where's the trust? Where's the ethics? Where's the safety? And like our skew is more that of like, can we be people who are being nice and taking care of each other? And if we do that, can that translate to the stage? And unfortunately, I know there are other people out there that are like teachers that go around that are like, they're, yeah, you know.
Yeah, they know. See, they're already mad. They're mad.
Yeah,
like there are other people who are in it for them, and we're doing this to like it fills our hearts to fill other people's hearts, and to see that reaction versus where like I need to get my ego stroked and have people think I'm amazing.
Yeah. Wow, well said. I mean, I don't even, as far as how I feel about people referencing us in any way, that's so kind. I think since we're in such a ethereal art form and comedy, like I think that a lot of people that we know and love, like our contemporaries, a lot of them are doing things that they're passionate about, like television projects or movies or starting their own places or whatever it might be. And they're all doing very well. And Rance and I sort of made a conscious decision when we were leaving to Chicago to be like, what are we doing? Because I don't think either of us perceived a time that we were going to leave Chicago. And when we had this community here kind of ask us, can you make a space? We like really had to sit with it and think, I think we can, because we were touring here, the improvised musical, so much out of Chicago and going separately to teach to so many places in Europe and beyond and the United States, that I feel like we were kind of like, what's our, how you can never know, like, what's your path? Like, what are you supposed to choose? There's never a right or wrong, but we had to make a conscious decision of like, I think we're comedy artists. Like, I don't know, like if something else comes along and we turn into television people, or we turn into like, we do some movie project or something, that may happen. We're just like sort of open. But I think that our lives are best, we feel like we're serving best being in service to like theatrical communities. And I like live theater. So the only downside of that is, does this matter? I mean, like, I think that Rance and I are kind of like, does this matter? Like, do people know that they matter? Do they know that their project matters? Do they know that we are kind of like, we made a decision to come home and like help them make things that matter? And so LDU did like, that's a really heartwarming for me, and probably any improviser that hears that about themselves, because it makes you be like, okay, well, people do care. I mean, that you're sort of trying to make better comedic communities or whatever, or skill sets or any of that.
Hey, I'm gonna mute really quick. You stop talking right now. You stop it. Okay.
There's no mute.
Yeah.
Our dogs also never bark like this. They're protecting us from the contractors that are in our house. So you're welcome.
Oh, that's amazing.
We gotta be safe.
That's amazing. Tara, let's begin with you, ladies first. Let's start with kind of your beginnings. Where did you grow up?
I can answer this.
Oh God, I would be so mad if you mansplained where I grew up. How dare you? I grew up here in Columbus, Ohio. I say Columbus for the podcast, but like, I don't know that I've ever called it that, because I don't enjoy the word Columbus. However, everyone here really does call it C-Bus. That's like legitimate. So I grew up here. I moved to Chicago probably I think it was 1999. At the what would we say lately? The end of the 1900s and
the late 1900s.
Late 1900s, and studied improvisation there, and fortunately, kind of joined a lot of like amazing casts and theaters and met beautiful people there in a really cool era to make art. I'll say that. Like, it wasn't the safest or most ethical era to come into that space, but it was also kind of a punk rocky era to enter, which was the cool part, is meeting all these contemporaries that were awesome, and making really neat stuff that hadn't been made. So I was there from 99 to 2016, 2017. And we started the Nest at that point here in Columbus. So I kind of returned back to my hometown here in Columbus as well.
What was growing up for you like?
What was growing up for me like? That's weird, LD. We just did a show last night, and this came up, the content came up inside the show, as characters, of course, but we were sort of like divulging our our evolution as people, in character. And I feel like I was very sweet, very shy, very like, I'd say very like, I was a feeler, but not really a crier. Just like, I feel like I felt everything a lot. And as I grew up, that wasn't like necessarily rewarded, and, as a kid, because
right.
that's, it can be like too much. So I think that I was very smart. Like scholastically, I enjoyed school. I liked reading and things like that. And then later I started kind of like getting into theater and getting into sports. And I found very quickly, as I was sort of, the things that like I was kind of pressured out of, I kind of became class clowny. And I'd say from like 7th grade on, I became very class clown-like, not in the Bart Simpson way, but kind of like sardonic comments in the corner, or like would make people laugh on a road trip, like that was sort of my image in high school, I think.
You wouldn't run around telling everyone to eat your shorts or anything?
Yeah, I wasn't telling anyone to eat my shorts or have a cow or anything like that. But I think I was kind of like playful and like would like alleviate stress in rooms a lot. And I think only now, as I've gotten older, have I been okay with reinviting that feeler energy back. I mean, I know that LD knows I'm like a little Care Bear. That's like, I'm very warm, but I wasn't very good at like showing my own pain, I think, until much later. My dad died when I was young. Like a lot of like covering up stuff with like funny, and everything's cool. A lot of that was happening when I was like in my teens and 20s, I think.
So was the class clowning, would you say, kind of like a defense mechanism in a way for you?
For sure. Without a doubt. I also like really enjoyed comedy. That's like authentic. My brothers are older than I am, and they like would show me sneaky things like, hey, you want to see Spinal Tap, or like watch like SNL with us or whatever, Monty Pythons or whatever the heck. And that was exciting. Like I'd always like get excited about watching, In Living Color, and like just like staying up to watch David Letterman and Johnny Carson. Like I'd always like stay up to watch things when I was really young. So it's definitely in me. But I think I figured out it was a tool pretty early. It was like, hey, if I'm funny, no one bothers me. Was kind of a thing as a young, like, young, heavy feeler. I'd like figured out how to play sports okay and make people laugh all the time. It was like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I was one of those kids who also tried to be a class clown.
Yeah.
The problem was there were other class clowns that were way funnier than I was.
Oh,
so I always kind of failed at that.
I get that. That stinks. You can't be fourth funniest, right?
No. Yeah. I tell people all the time, I've never been the funniest person in the room, but I've always been the person who wanted to be the funniest person in the room. Yeah. And I was also the guy who was very obviously trying to be the funniest person in the room.
Oh, and that's so hard because it's like desperately funny never works. Never does. What about this, guys? It's like you can see from everyone that's listening, and it's not the same. I totally get that. It's definitely a weird finesse of like, what's this room like? But it probably made me a better performer because I'm always kind of taking like in, the temperature of the room, not necessarily like catering to anyone, but just sort of like noticing things like that.
Yeah. Let's go over to you, Rance. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in mostly in Portland, Oregon, with no dogs.
You got him.
I'm going to title this episode. I'm going to title this episode "Tara, Rance, and Dogs."
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, like, I hope that everyone's really enjoying the defense of our dogs right now. It's really incredible.
Oh my God.
It makes us all know that you two are protected right now.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Today
I'm
of all
so
days we're on this
protected.
podcast. We're so protected.
The irony is that guy's gone, so now they know
For
that
real?
we're on a podcast, and we need to be careful about what we say.
Yeah,
We need to be very careful with what we say.
Yes.
Protecting us.
They're keeping us on track.
Yeah.
yeah.
I grew up in I usually say from memory in Portland, Oregon. Like from the time I was probably like 3 or 4, until moving to Chicago in 2003, and then moving here with Tara. Like that's where I feel like I met Tara within like my first week or 2 of being in Chicago.
Yeah. It felt very quick.
Yeah. And what was growing up for you like, Rance?
Oh man, growing up, I was always like a weird kid, and I luckily I don't have like I never have felt the constraints of like social conformity, so that hurt and hindered my social path a little bit. Like I feel like I was socially stunted in that because I just didn't pick up on cues. Oh my God. Here's a little fun fact about me. I hate dogs barking.
He does.
Clark Addison, stop it.
Someone just like walked in again, just so you know.
Okay.
So
he was just getting
shutting the door or something. Yeah. Final part.
He went to get glue for the pipes. I was always like a weird kid. There's a great how do we explain this Thanksgiving photo? Like
I can do it for LD if you want. Like we'll give you a visual and you can describe it LD if you want.
Yeah,
sure.
It's
like
yeah.
Basically that.
It's a hand, it's 2 hands on each temple and one eye's open, the other eye's looking up.
Yep. And picture a kid doing that dumb face in the middle of one of the rare opportunities to have all of our relatives together at Thanksgiving, and my dad trying to get my dad's a photographer, so he's always like anything was always him trying to get us together for a photo. But like the thing is, he'd have to put it on a timer and then come sit down, and then he wouldn't know what was going on with anyone else. So he'd walk away with a photo with our family, my mom's sister's family, my mom's 5 cousins and their families, our grandparents, our great aunt, everyone, like 40 people in a photo. Everyone's doing great. I'm doing this stupid face, and the youngest is looking over at me to be like, what the hell's he doing? And
it's my favorite picture of him. It's like easily in my top 5 favorite pictures of you all time, because it's he's at his core who he is, but what he has to like kind of mask most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's very funny.
To
this
day, I had to find an art form to allow it to leak out, or else I'd explode. But I've never been something I'm envious of Tara's experience growing up is she has a huge group of core friends that's not just like acquaintances, but like this like 16-person core group of friends that's still tight. And like every friend that I've ever had has kind of faded away except for one. And it's just like I don't feel the like social, like I need this that some people have. So it's like I'm fine to like, and I feel like my friend Blaine, shout out to Blaine Borgia, who will hate this because he hates having his name in any public record for no reason whatsoever.
That's true. That is true.
But he's kind of the same way, so we're good that way. Like we just recently saw him in Dallas, and we both like have probably texted each other maybe a max of 20 times in like the last 6 years. But it's just because we are still there. We don't need the like constant connection. We have the memory connection that's going on. Oh,
it's really
dogs. Stop it! You stop it right now!
Just so everyone knows, I'm just keeping the podcast listeners updated. The dogs are on Protect Watch again because someone's drilling in our basement. That's what's happening now. I can only hear it through the wall, but I know that they're really doing their due diligence, the dogs, on exactly what they should be doing.
Yeah. Now on Dog Watch, hour 2.
Yeah, we have to keep everyone updated if they're slugging it through this podcast. Just know the dogs are doing a great job. They're doing a great job.
They clearly are. They clearly are. We don't have to worry about you guys.
Yeah, we're fine.
Cool.
I love that I actually think that Rance is sort of this is probably why we became friends so quickly. I think that Rance has balance for me, and maybe vice versa, that we have I kind of was the social caregiver maybe that he was seeking, and I also like that he doesn't really care what people think of him, and therefore people like him. As strange as it is, I always used to tell Rance, people think you're really cool, right? When we were in Chicago, you could see everyone in the room sort of be like, "Ooh, Rance is here," they were trying to impress him or something. And he's very he's 6'5", he's a good looking guy, he's very talented and charming on stage and stuff, so people would kind of be like, "I hope Rance liked my show," whatever, and he'd be like, "I don't know who you are," he not even he wasn't a dick, but I feel he just doesn't he doesn't care if you like him, so people like him because
and
not
in a dick way, but in a just
no, not at all.
I'm just not wired that way.
He's not wired that way. He has he has no people pleaser in him, and I think that that's a real beautiful thing when you're a person that seeks people pleasing. It's nice for me to be like, yeah, you're right, because you don't have to care, because my punk rock heart likes that, but it's harder for me because of being a young bullied fat kid or whatever. I'm always is everyone okay? I'm I sort of am nervous, so it's just my anxiety chills when I'm around him, I think.
Yeah. Rance, when did performing come into your life?
Okay. Get this. I was always a shy kid, and I remember one time my parents got me to be in a church, whatever the Christmas thing is. I'm not really a churchy person, but it's whatever that's called.
Like a pageant?
Yeah, pageant. And I think they were trying to push me to just do something. And I played Silent Shepherd 2, which meant I put on a robe and stood there, and that was it. And I have a pretty good singing voice, and I did it at an early age. And I remember our music teacher in grade school was curating people to be in a show who she knew had good singing, and gathered us all together. And I remember her saying if you don't want to be in this, you don't have to, and you can just go back to class. And me and one other girl left. And so I was I didn't have the bug for the theater early on. And there's this thing called outdoor school in the Northwest, which is it's a camp. It's a summer camp, like Improv Retreat, but it's where sixth graders go for a week, but they're having a camp experience, but they're learning the whole week. So they're learning about the life cycle of plants, and the water cycle, and diversity of plants, and all this different nature stuff. And as a high schooler, you could be a counselor and get a week off of school to go out there, because they need counselors. Yep. So they somehow got a program. But when I went in sixth grade, I hated it because I am an indoors person. And this guy, James Longfellow, shout out, was hey, we should go be counselors, because he wanted someone to go out and be with him, and he had to go through this training and everything. And I was like, I don't want to do it. He's like, no, man, it'll be super fun. So I ended up saying yes, and we signed up, and he bailed because he was running for treasurer. And I remember distinctly telling him, you're not going to win. You should just go to camp. And I was right. He didn't win. But he didn't go. Yeah. So I was forced to go myself, and I was kind of definitely out of my zone. And they needed people to sing camp songs at camp, and I was so nervous to do it. But I was like, they're like, we'll teach you one. Like they were like begging counselors to sing songs at camp at night. And I sang a song and the kids went bananas for it. And I was like, oh, what's this? What's this thing? And that was like junior year of high school. And in senior year, I tried to sign up for a theater class and they didn't let me in because I was a senior already. So they were just kind of like too late. But
weird message.
Yeah. But I ended up working. I was a counselor 3 times in high school. And then I ended up working out there as staff for like 5 years. And I would take call. Hey, bitch, get in here. Go to the bed. Hey, bed. Oh, hold on. He's calling me. Hold on.
I'll finish. JK, what if I did? Yeah.
I just love the idea of you two answering each other's stories.
Thank you for asking. Yes, when I was a junior, I just keep going.
Yeah, so Tara, you were a counselor and
yeah, I'll take this. I have the floor.
That's awesome.
I do know that he loved it though. Like not to finish his thing, but that camp counselor thing was pivotal for him, for sure. And sort of led us to the Improv Retreat, which was truly, I had this idea like in, I don't know, 2012 or something. And I pitched it to Rance because I knew that he would tell me the truth if it was a bad idea or not. So it's kind of a funny full circle thing of like, I don't know, I have this idea for a camp where there'll be like, I don't know, 200 people and they're all in the woods. And he was like, this is a great idea. And I knew that Rance wouldn't be like, I knew that he wouldn't pull any punches about it at all. So it was nice that camp thing came full circle. I was just telling them that you were the person he's back, about, I was telling them about the Improv Retreat and how I told you about it because I wanted to get the truth if it was a bad idea or not.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So ultimately doing camp and singing songs meant I saw an improv class in college that sounded like camp skits. And I just thought easy A. And then I took it and was like, oh shit, I love this.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking kidding. God. He's gone.
It's so like, LD, you're catching a window that is not a thing that happens. It's really like this is a real. You're really catching us.
I feel so lucky right now.
You do?
I really do. Oh, I do so much.
This
is a special one.
You're gonna get a nom for a potty.
It's actually a potty. It's a toilet.
Yeah, POTTY. Yeah.
So that's how you discovered improv, Rance. Tara, you mentioned that you did a lot of theater and you did a lot of sports.
Yeah.
How did you discover improv specifically?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I loved like things like sketch comedy, but I didn't know how people developed it, I guess. And I had a little city crush on Chicago as a kid, I think. And when I went to college, I had this really cool, really awesome guy named Mel Hellitzer, shout out, who was a stand-up comedy teacher. He like did like honestly like really old school. He helped people curate their acts in like the Catskills and like really like why am I forgetting the name? Branson, like things like that. Like he did like show quality kind of like heavy rotation comics of like the 70s and 60s. He was a professor at this Ohio University where I went, and I took a stand-up class from him and loved it and was like, this is close. This is like the closest thing I can think of outside of theater that's like, it's not quite what I want to do, but it's something like what I want to do. And he was like, you should move to Chicago. And I was like, why? Why specifically? And he told me about Second City. And he told me about like all these kind of like scholastic places that obviously we all know the lore of probably at this point, but he was like, a lot of people move there to do improv, and then they decide what they want to do after they have improvisational skills. And I was like, this is a thing. Like, this is a real thing I can do. This wasn't at a time where you could just Google it. I didn't know where people learned that stuff. So I just was so excited to think that there might be a community or something that I could find that would be doing this stuff. And that community was already thriving and growing so rapidly in Chicago at that point. But I just didn't, you had to like find out through a friend. It was like that kind of thing. So I like earned money and like went to Chicago and jumped into classes. I started IO and Second City on the same day. which was wild to like go to. I had Martin DeMott in the morning or the afternoon who taught at Second City, and I had Sharna Halpern at night. So it was like very different like energies and both equally fun and like wild. And it was just it was really exciting. I just didn't know, I couldn't believe it. And then I'd have to wait a full week to have them both again. And you know that feeling when you're starting like, I just want to do it every day, but I had to kind of temper those expectations. Even in that city, I just would see as much as I could and do everything I could, back then.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because you mentioned Second City. What is it like to walk into this institution where it's world famous, and you've had the greats be in the same classes that you are taking at that point?
Yeah.
What does it feel like to step into that place?
Well, I have several opinions. I'm trying to like make sure.
Well was the best. That's such a loaded well. It's so fun.
Well, here's the thing, and I'll say this about all the schools there. I think everywhere, not just there. This isn't just a Chicago thing. I think that when I moved there, here's one of the coolest things that happened. Martin DeMott, who was a fucking angel, like this person was an angel on earth in my book, and was like so good at teaching. He taught a thing called Improv for Actors, and he was so good at the bohemian approach of stepping into like why characters need to have personalities and heart and connection. And I feel like he's the teacher I had there that convinced me to be there. And then beyond that point, the lore sort of overtook the heart. Meaning like, here's what he did. He like took me into a space, our whole class, and he let us like sit down on the main stage in Second City. And he was like, touch the stage. Think of how many people have been here. Like we all like laid down on the wood floor of the main stage because it had been stripped for like a set redesign for in between reviews. And I remember just sitting there and him being like, Gilda Radner was here, Bill Murray was here, like Tim Meadows was here. Like all these people have been here, and you're here now. And the thing that he did that I think is important is you're here now, which I don't think is always what people, they get caught up in the like, who's been here and how can I be themness of Chicago, rather than the like, these people have been here and they did great and I love them, and also I'm here now, is like the evolution I'm really enjoying. And I think what we're trying to pass along is like, these institutions unfortunately aren't exactly what they once were anymore, because they've been going through their own, I don't know what you want to call it, like evolutions, I suppose.
That's a great word for it.
Yeah. And I think that there's growing pains, and there's always going to be growing pains. But I think that what's cool now is all these doors are open where people are asking questions that should have been asked 20 years ago. Or I shouldn't say that people weren't doing that, but now there's more people doing that. And I think now there's kind of like this righteous push of like, now there's, 75% of us have these questions instead of people like me that were only 8% of being like, hey, maybe not this, like there's a lot of like that kind of stuff where like the wrong people get rewarded, or like, how we're always like, oh, the nicest people get, karma is going to help you in the industry. And that's true. But it's also like every now and then that's not true. And it's like, it is the meanest person in the industry that like kind of knuckles everybody out. And like, I think that we're getting better at being like cognizant of who are the kind hard workers, and are they funny, and are they caregiving? And I just like that stuff. So it's like the lore is really awesome, but the lore is sort of like, it's secondary to the now, I think. Yeah. And like in IO and in Comedy Sports and Annoyance and Second City, like I think that these places are fucking rad, but they're also like made by humans. So it's the same kind of thing as like religion or spirituality to me, where it's like, okay, you can think the thing is rad, but humans touch it and therefore it is flawed. I mean, like it is flawed. And so like we can't be too reverent of things, I think.
Right.
So
yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. And it's really like, I say that as a person that was fortunate enough to work everywhere. But I certainly had my like run-ins, and like the things that were said to me in these places were not okay. And like I was at that time too being like, I was the only female bodied person in my IO class.
Oh,
So
wow.
take that in. I was also, I think later it became a few more of us, but a lot of women were like discouraged so easily that they were like, they just left. And they were good, but they like just left because they kind of like didn't like the energy of it. And I was the only queer person. I like things like that. Like later on, I have a disability. Like I was the only person on stages in Chicago that like at one point had a walker. And I remember like a friend of mine now saw me on stage, and because I had a walker, she has like a mobility devices, and she was like, "Oh, I'd never seen myself on stage," like things like that. So I can only imagine like BIPOC energy or like genderqueer people, like anybody that's just like, "Oh, I like if you don't see yourself, you know what happens next." And I just sort of have been like very cognizant of that. Luckily, since I'm sort of an empath, like I mentioned, I feel like I've always kind of been like looking for that, but there's not enough people. You have to have I think you have to have people in mass question it, not just like three loud voices question it, even if they're people that you see on stages. It's like, yes, I got to be on main stage at some places, and I could be like, hey, this isn't cool. And people are like, yeah, you're right. But that doesn't mean it's changing. It's like, not like, you have to have more people kind of like raising that barn.
I feel like
absolutely.
I feel like along those lines, and like something that I not just love about Tara, but like just love as a business partner with Tara, is that this idea that like it's hard to get this stuff out if there's just one voice, that she's taken that voice and that we run this theater together, and all it takes is one voice, if your voice is the top, to be like, be fucking cool to each other, or you don't have a place here. Like like to have everyone, we have everyone sign a code of ethics, just because we've been through Chicago, and she's dealt with knowingly a lot of bullshit, and I've seen, whether I blinded myself to it or then started to notice a lot of bullshit. The code of ethics is just easy, like, hey, you're what we were trying to get away from, so you're bye. and luckily I think most people who might fall into that category self-select out and just sort of fade away when they realize they can't like get away with the bullshit they're gravitating towards.
That's a good point. I mean, maybe that's so right. I think that we've noticed that people making your own space, LD, has been we've made our own spaces in short term for a long time. Like the Improv Retreat we made in 2012ish, 2013, and it went live in 2014. So like we had some idea, and we'd been on like artistic committees at IO or Comedy Sports or whatever, Second City or whatever, like wherever, all over, just like helping out. But when you run your own space, you can kind of be like, no, like there's no other person you have to like defer to be like, well, it's going to go through 8 hands and then they'll vote on it. It's different to be like the co-founders of a space that just get to be like, hey, you don't fit here and it's only your choice. How, like, it's like the only way you can opt out of our community is by not taking care of community. So like, what's the goal? Is like kind of it's nice to kind of know that we have that built in to the sauce,
Yeah. Well, it does feel like now more so than before, these conversations, these uncomfortable conversations, are definitely being had more than ever. And of course, a lot of it is fueled by, a lot of what we've been seeing. And of course, things like Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter. People are now finally having these honest conversations with each other. Do you feel like the doors are now being a lot more open for everyone else to come in, or do you still think we still have ways to go?
We have a ways to go.
Really think on your answer.
I mean, I think you're right. I think it's better, but like, I think there's also a lot of virtue signaling happening that's like sort of like, look at us, we've got a person with a different ability on our stage, so everything's cool. Like I think that's sort of, I think we're all like hopeful. I think the people that are really righteous are truly trying to bring people in, and the hardest part of that, I should say, is that like if people don't see themselves, you can't bring them in. So if you don't have anyone, right. Like it's like there is that actual problem, which is like, how do you then do outreach to communities that may not trust cis, able, white, male, like what, like straight, like it's like you have to do the work to be like, no, really, it's safe here. And that
Yeah.
means you have to have a few people trust you to kind of broaden that space, I think.
Yeah.
I think the Nest has been really good at it, to be honest. Like, I think that the community is really good at telling one another that the space is authentic. Like, meaning like, once people did trust Rance and I think I think the snake leads by the head, but then like, like then the community also has each other to be like, is this true? And then
Yeah.
they also start to like grow exponentially sideways, meaning like, it's like, yeah, they're really like this and you can talk to them. And also we're really like this and we can talk to each other. And like, therefore we build with like communities of BIPOC humans. And like, I think we have a very large, like, also like we have a lot of queer people at our theater that don't feel like threatened by content. I think like a lot of people know they can say what they want on our stages as long as it's not punching down, only punching up. So like there's a lot of like freedom, I think, that maybe, as like theaters get more corporate, that's like a real turn off to us, that like we want to be a place where people can speak truthfully.
Yeah. That's really what, like, I feel like is the biggest curse of theaters, is when they get too big for they follow a corporate plan versus a
Yeah.
community plan. Like, that's of ever a theater I've seen that wasn't particularly ethically malicious, turning into a corporation seems to be their downfall.
Yes, totally. Yeah, that might be true, because it's like you don't keep your eye on the people that are in service to you or the art. You're keeping an eye on the bottom line. So it's kind of like who's
Yeah.
attending the show becomes more important than the people that are creating and fostering the show and
Or
bringing people in.
who's
Yeah.
taking classes becomes a commodity and not a growth.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I love teaching improv is I've had this, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this too, is so many people coming in, and even though they're playing characters, they walk away saying, "Wow, I love a place where I can be me."
Yeah.
And
Hell
I
yeah.
love a place where I can be heard and accepted no matter who I am or what I am.
Hell yeah. That's
Yeah.
beautiful, LD. I mean, like I feel like when, we do comedy shows for a living, like we're comedians for a living. Yes. But this is also a type of, I don't know. I say this to our classes sort of jokingly, but it's not untrue that like we're student council for the human spirit. I just said it this week in class, in fact, but I think about that all the time, because like, are we representing people that don't always get to speak in a public, like in a way of showing that like we're sharing human experiences, or we're when you do get fired from your job, it feels bad, or like when you have when you get married, it's incredible but it's scary, or like like are we playing scenes that feel rich and diversified and complex, and like show all the ways that humans are humans, rather than being like kind of like a pat sort of scene we've seen before. It's like really nice to hear people kind of speak the things that we didn't get to always say, because it was like too quick, or it had to be really flat and like outlined and like get to the funny. It's like more interesting to see human truth, because that's the funniest of all. I mean, easily. That's our favorite scenes to watch and be in.
Yeah, I remember hearing this phrase, and I have no idea where I heard it or who I heard it from, but there's a phrase that says, "There's nothing funnier than the truth."
Yeah, it
and
is.
what I love so much about our world is that the best thing you can present is your honesty.
Absolutely.
And how you are and how you're feeling and who you are at that moment, which is what really has turned me on to this for so many years.
Forever.
Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's like the reason you get sort of addicted to this art form, is because the truth is always shifting, and like you're always, ideally you're evolving too, and like you have new thoughts and new feelings, and playing a person is like a butterfly effect. It's like it depends on which way they choose now and which way they choose next and which way they choose next, and that could alter everything inside the scene. And I mean, Truth and Comedy, the book, is like, just the title alone, I remember as a student being like, oh cool, and then like later being like, oh, playing truthful people, not necessarily only you, but playing truthful people and enriching those thoughts and ideas to not just like satirical lines is so much more interesting to see someone really go through it. And I think that Rance and I have gotten braver. I mean, I've always like loved playing with Rance in general in different spots that we've played, but when we do Hear the Musical, we're also PS LD, we're doing a show called Now as well. So we have like a 2-person show called Now that's like a long form with interviews, and then we have Here the improvised musical that we've toured for years and love. But I feel like we've gotten braver about being like, this one might have a moment that makes the audience cry. I feel like we've gotten like really brave about not, you know how to like shift gears, right? Improvisers, you know how to do that thing where it's like, anyway, because we do that in real life when we're uncomfortable. But I feel like we've gotten braver over the last decade of being like, this one's tough, or like this one's gonna be tough, and like we will elevate it and make it funnier later because the human experience is ultimately comedic sometimes. But like this might be the nugget in the show where we see the audience crying at some song we're singing, and that's like become as interesting, I think.
Yeah, that idea was a key benchmark in my growth as an improviser, doing a show at the San Francisco Improv Festival where it turned and it stopped being comedic and started being dramatic, and the audience was crying and doing a standing ovation at the end. And I remember feeling like, oh shit, there's so much more than just trying to get like a laugh out of the audience. And it was so much more rewarding. And then just like, if you're looking at all the possible emotions and you're centering in on that tiny wedge of laughter, why not embrace the other things? I mean, I don't want to have people get scared of a show or angry at a show, but there's still like possibilities in enjoyment.
It's like the difference between, there's like Jim Carrey of The Mask and there's Jim Carrey of Truman Show, and I know which one I prefer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Right. Like it's like they both serve their purposes, and sometimes you have those kinds of shows, but like it's really cool to be like, what if we show how like what do you want to do, like somebody stop me bit? What's going on?
Yeah, I was just picturing a scene where it's like, hey, I'm really happy to be with you, and I'm just glad this date worked out. Smoking.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Thank you for nailing it.
I remember years ago the first time I saw Mark Sutton and Stacey Halal do their duo, and that was such a huge moment for me because they have their format that they call a comedy, a tragedy, and a romance, and it's a 3-scene bit. The second scene they did, that completely changed me because it wasn't ha-ha funny, and there wasn't even anything that was said that was accidentally funny, but they were just in it, and it was just so emotional, and that was like a really big come to Jesus moment for me when I saw that. Like, wow, improv can be more than just let's make you laugh. I've changed my philosophy because of that to improv can make you feel.
Hell yeah.
That's exactly
beautiful. We said that to our level 1 students, that like we don't want you here to make people laugh. We want you here to make people feel. And if laughter is part of that, we've succeeded. And like if like being like, like hilariously frustrated is like part of that, that's fun. It often like leads to laughter. Cause it's still real. It's like you have to be unafraid. We see plateaus in a lot of our students where there's something in their personal lives that they haven't faced, and you can feel it. It reflects on stage because the vulnerability to be on stage and be okay with whatever happens tonight, outside of safety, of course, but like whatever happens tonight with content is like, who am I playing? Like you can see people get like exponentially funnier if they aren't afraid of being vulnerable, in a scene prior to that. It's like, it really increases. It also is just playing comedic theory, which Rance and I love, of like, if an audience feels that deeply, you've taught them that they can feel that deeply. So they laugh exponentially harder in the next scene because it's like uncapping. It's like getting an achievement. It's like, I know I can feel this much, so now I can laugh this much. It's like, it all kind of, it's a biorhythm. for sure.
Yeah, just the tension from sitting through it too, like builds, like tension builds laughter. Laughter is the release of tension. So like after a big, deep, meaningful scene, it's kind of like, ugh. And you just start the next scene with like an armpit fart, and they're like, ah!
That's our wheelhouse, is armpit farts. So
yeah,
just
man.
Yeah. That's the title of your next show, Armpit Farts.
It's on the docket.
Now it's time for a really big question that I'm so excited to ask you guys. How did you two meet?
Oh shit.
That's a great. How did we meet? I mean, Rance, I think this is a weird one because we think we met through Comedy Sports. We're pretty positive about that.
Yeah. There's some gray area on it because we definitely knowingly met at a Comedy Sports rehearsal in Chicago shortly after I moved there. And
that's our like earmarker of like, we think we met here in 2003.
And we probably crossed paths 2 months before that, when I was like I played Comedy Sports in Portland, so I was like a guest player at Chicago, and Tara remembers being at the show and maybe playing it, but I was so like in my head.
I think I played the show prior to yours. I think I played the 8 and you were playing the 10. I don't know for sure.
Yeah. And as I've said, I'm not like a people person where I have to like get to know people. So I was like, hi, and gone. And I was like focused on doing the show more than creating friendships or connections.
Yeah, he was like basically trying out, like in a live audition sort of thing. We think if it is the same day, we met each other. I should say probably we think a week or so later. I don't, or like something like that, where he came in for a practice, and I was like the welcoming committee. So I was kind of like yelling his name down the hallway, like, "Hi, Rance!" Like kind of like bringing him in.
Yeah,
and it was like funny, and we
and I was like, "She's all right."
You know what? This gal is okay. And we became friends really quickly. I mean, I feel like we were friends right away, like really
right
pals.
Away. Like it was like immediate, like, hell yeah, this one.
Yeah. And I was certainly like, I was kind of like the social chair of that era of Comedy Sports. So I was kind of like making sure all the newbie people or like transferring people were coming in. I had only started the year before, I think, there. But I was like trying to be like the welcome wagon, basically. So it was like an easy overlap.
Yeah.
We didn't date till like 11 years later.
Yeah, because
it took that long.
Yeah. It was like we were like with a bunch of other people in between, and I don't think we ever, honest to God, like I don't think we ever thought about like whether we were stupid or not. That's one thing. I mean, when Rance met me, I identified as gay. That's part one. And I dated women for a good chunk of that time, and then other people. Rance was in a long-term relationship too.
I also identified as robot at the time.
Yeah, I forgot to say he was part robot back then. Like,
I really was like way more. That's said like half in jest, because I was just like very like not emotionally connected to anything at all.
Tapped in. Yeah. He wasn't like cold or anything like that, but he was just sort of like not the same.
But I wasn't warm.
Yeah. I think you kind of nailed it though, that when he came to Comedy Sports and transferred, I think it was more like you were worried about like what's Chicago work like, and it just wasn't like, you know, it wasn't that you were cold, you were just sort of like on guard.
On guard, and
fair.
also on like on path. Like I was like, I'm 31 and I'm moving to Chicago to start this thing that 20-year-olds start. So I was like, let's fucking get to it. And I was like, I was trying to like, I did.
And you were already doing professional shows in Oregon, so it was like weird, you know.
Like I'd been doing Comedy Sports there for 4 years. So I got Comedy Sports. I understood it, but that Chicago had a really rigid audition process that I sort of loopholed my way through, and then I just had to prove that it was a good choice by them. So I was like really focused on the game while taking IO and annoyance classes at the same time.
And he immediately kind of shot up through those systems too. But it was like I think everyone knew you were good, you know. But it was just it took us a long time to figure it out, LD. Let's say that. It took us a long time.
It took a while for me to hear stuff back. Like I remember one guy, Eric Lindbergh. I'm just going to keep shouting names out. When I just all of a sudden showed up at rehearsals and they were like, "What? Who's this?" And then I remember him being like, "Who the fuck's this guy think he is just coming in here?" And then I got on stage and did some scene. He's like, "Oh man, fuck it, God, he's got okay." Like he was just like, "Damn it."
That's exactly it. Yeah. They were like that for sure. And then
what do you think it is that really made you two gravitate towards each other?
God, I don't know what made her gravitate towards me.
Oh, real.
She's just fun. I mean, like it had to have been an on stage presence, and also I think honestly, like finding out well in retrospect that I have what we've lovingly referred to. I don't know if we've mentioned it yet as resting murder face, which means I don't like, again with the social stuff, like I don't try to mask and please. So I'll just like be soft neutral. This is just for LD to see. Tara, here's what my resting face is.
Yeah, legit.
So if I'm just like that, and you don't know me, and you don't know that I'm just like pleasantly neutral in my head, you're like, "Fuck, this guy hates me." But we got to play right away. When I'm playing, or when I'm at rehearsal and doing improv, it's where my joy lives. So Tara got to see the joy side of it and see the soft hard neutral side.
Yeah, that's true. Like I gravitate towards Rance easy. I mean, like you were so funny right away. And so like, you know how you can tell when someone's, just in our friendship, I mean, just specifically friends, I feel like you can recognize as good. And like, it wasn't just that he was funny, but he was also like sleek. He was good at being like a professional in a world of like, but not boring, which I think is like also tough to find. Like he had a lot of good qualities that were like, he knew how to host a show and he wasn't sloppy about it. And he like made you feel safe. If you saw someone, this is in our wedding vows, actually, like when I would find out Rance was in the cast I was in, I would be like, "Oh, good." And it like kind of exhaled because we would both be like, or he would feel the same in return of like, "Oh, fine." Like, whew, like we don't have to like plan a ton of stuff ahead. We don't have to like make sure we're doing cleanup for someone that shows up late, you know, like things like that are just like the mechanics of a show. I always felt so protected. And he also was like just so funny and fun to be around. But you almost felt like you got to be in an inside club if you were friends with Rance. Like people would always be like, "How's Rance? Is he okay?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, he's great." Like, you were sort of in like is he cool? Like I think a lot of people were friends with me, and I was like an easy friend. I was like an easy, like I'm very warm, you know. Like so, people are like, "I know how you are." Does Rance like me? You know, like that kind of thing happened a lot.
Yeah.
But I felt very lucky to be like tight with him. I think because he trusted me as well. So it was just an easy friendship.
I forget about that, like that show gig, like road gig vibe of like. The same thing that kind of makes our running our theater go well is like Tara's naturally good with people and naturally good with art and design, and I've got a proclivity towards the tech side of things. So it's like I'm figuring out the lighting and the sound and everything. Same thing as road gigs. I forget would like if it was like we're both on a gig and be like, "Oh, cool," and we get there and Tara would be like one way to hit the client, and I'd be the other way to hit the stage and find out, get our lofts and get our mic checks. Like I'd head towards the tech, she'd head towards the client, and then we'd be it's all out of the way, and now let's just do the show.
Yeah, and then the show would be like so easy and fun because everything was done. So it was that kind of thing. We kind of like became a lot of leads at theaters we worked at because people would be like, they can handle management and in the cast, you know, like that kind of thing. So starting a theater was honestly like it sucks. Y'all, anyone out there that runs a theater, it's so fucking hard. I don't do it. Age so fast into a husk. God bless you. But like it is it is also awesome work, but it's so, you have to have people that are good at each thing, you know? And I think our relationship, we're good at that too. Like obviously relationship takes a backseat to improv talk in this one, but Rance is also like an incredibly great partner. He's just like a really good person and easy to love. You know, it's like, it's a nice, like once we figured it out, once we were like, oh, it was like someone like hit us in the head. I mean, truly, like, and I think we're also very kind and reverent to people we, you know, had dated and stuff like that prior. So it was kind of like, we're friends. Like I'm really good at being like, no, he's my friend and that's what he is. Or like, she's my friend and that's what she is. And everyone kind of went in their little boxes, you know? And then once we were sort of confronted with like, do you love each other? And then it was like, I don't know yet. Like it was like,
what's
it was like
happening?
like everything just
I'm going to defer to the dogs on that one.
right? They're suddenly quiet. But it's like it just was truly like seeing honest light. Like we were both just like, oh my God, like we're so stupid. Like I didn't, but I feel like we were the last to know.
I was just going to literally say we
You
were
were
the last to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Here's an interesting question. Both as performers and as people, what have you two learned from each other? And what do you continue to learn from each other?
I think, gosh, I've learned so much from Rance, I think. Where do I even start? I feel like I've learned from him that like we can kind of handle, it's things I know, but things he models. I'll say that. Like maybe that's same in reverse. Like I think you're good at modeling things I need to be better at, which is like just sort of like keeping level, or like because I want to take care of people and I have a lot of compassion. That can also be like, I don't want to be swept up in their energy sometimes. And he's really good at being kind of like, cool, let them handle it. And it's like, oh yeah. Because when you're the person that like runs, I run our code of ethics at our theater, at the Nest Theater, but I also, I'm also on a committee that like handles worldwide problems. And it's really, really hard. I'll just like, I'll end that there. It's really difficult. You see things you would never imagine would happen inside theaters. Like legal nightmare scenarios. And I like am privy to a lot of it as like the third party that like helps them document, to get people out. So we have like affidavits and we have to take care of, it's really hard. It's just like a really hard thing. And it's in because I want people to feel like they can nourish themselves in their spaces and get out garbage people. During those times where I had to do that, a lot of it over 2020 was happening. And Rance was really good about being like, vocalize it here, share it here. You know, like I got out a lot with him and he empathizes and then we like neutralize. I think you're really good at that. Like you're good at being like, this fucking sucks. Me too. God, this guy got to go, you know, like whatever.
Yeah.
And then like, he's my breath, I think.
This might be a good place to shout out for like any improvisers out there. If you're like, you're a piece of shit, why don't you just leave?
Yeah. Let's shout that out. I bet. I mean, that's the truth, y'all.
Rather than
like,
make everyone else deal with your bullshit, like take your bullshit away or fix it before.
Go seek help.
Go
get help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go get help. There's no shame. And not bringing, it's just really, you know, the artistry is so complicated, and like a lot of people that have experienced trauma and pain come to art to heal, and that's the gorgeous side. And a lot of people that aren't interested in healing come to art too, and then they kind of like wield it through people that don't deserve their
fresh prey. They have to say yes and to anything.
Exactly. It's like they've taken all the tenets and twisted them to be what a monster might do, you know. So it's like we have to really, I think that Rance has been really good for me in like kind of breathing through stuff to the point that it has to be really, really bad for me to like really engage, more than be kind of like, let's have a talk, you know. Like I've gotten way more chill in that regard, I think, because I just don't want people to feel bad. So I just like, you get swept up sometimes. So I think you've been really great for me in that.
I feel like this is a testament to where you kind of started, where it's like we're always doing things together versus opposite. It's like I think we I think we see each other and we see each other's strengths, and we both also hold on to our own, and it's where those two strengths meet is where the vibe is. Like even just in this, where I'm like, if you're a problem, why don't you get the fuck out? And Tara's like, yeah, you can get help, and I'm like, oh yeah. Like,
oh my God,
like
that's
Tara's like, please take care of yourself, and I'm like, on your fucking bike, mate, get out of here. Like,
but it is funny when we switch. We every now and then, like on a blue moon, I'll be like,
oh, do you really?
Who the fuck does this guy think he is? Like I'll turn into like Chicago,
so Chicago, so fast.
Like my accent gets worse.
You could
like
tell
everything
me?
is like, you're gonna tell me? Get the fuck out of here! Like I start getting like real, like it's an episode of The Bear or something.
Really
I turn
fun.
into like really, yeah, and he thinks it's very funny because it's like it's Bear. Yeah.
You two compliment each other so well.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I agree. Like it really is like I think my teaching style has definitely changed because of Tara, because I like I said before, I would focus on the technical aspect more than the like nurturing or growth aspect. And it's like there's still some of it, but like
you gotta have both.
You gotta
right?
have both. I mean, like I want people to get proficient. I want people to get better. I want people to grow, but I'm not going to be like, no, you fucked up. 2 more.
God.
I'm not going to go
LD,
old school Chicago.
We came up in that system, like truly, legitimately. I mean, like my teachers in Chicago were smoking cigs, drunk, like angrily yelling 2 more, screaming slurs at people that did badly in a scene, and then calling 2 more people up. It was like you couldn't have, if you had made a documentary about it, it would look like it's a little much. And you're like, no, this is really what I'm like. Wow. It was bad. I mean, it was really, it got softer, but then it almost got too soft where people were like doing breath work and saying how great everyone was. And then it was like, no, not this either. Yeah. You can't do, you have to be both. You have to be both of like, there must be a wild acceptance of everyone in the space. And there also has to be care for the art and proficiency, or it's just a fucking train wreck either way. It's either abusive or it's like too hippie, and then nothing's getting done either way. So it's like, I think we really try to curate spaces that are about skills and ultimate respect and amplification of one another, because then people actually get, that's right, they're back. People get good at being like, they actually grow. You can see them grow because there's inner trust between the cast. Like we do a check-in circle every scene, like every show we do like backstage work to kind of make sure that there's timeouts available and stuff like that. But then we also are like, don't do this inside a show. There's an audience here. Like, things like that, where it's like, how do we curate those experiences and balance everything?
Just in case you're wondering, we're getting a FedEx package. That's why it's so important to protect the house.
That is important. Rance is showing on this Ring camera that there's a delivery coming to our house.
Yeah, and it's a big package too, from what it looks like.
We're ordering all kinds of stuff for this tiny house, LD. There's a toilet, there's things. A shower. Like it's like a lot of like weird stuff going up.
Yeah. But then after all the craziness, there'll be that moment where you can just sit and enjoy this great house that you've created.
Oh, thank you. I hope so.
The soft din of dogs barking in the yard.
Exactly.
Yeah. How was Here the Musical born?
Oh, this is a good one. I like this one. Yeah. So IO, the 3541 North Clark Street place on Clark and Addison.
The old school location for the people wondering.
P.S. The names of our dogs, Clark and Addison.
Yeah. Hey, how about that?
Doesn't mean you need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Entrance.
We were at that location. Sharna Halpern was they were redoing Wrigleyville. They were getting ready to tear down the spot. I think Sharna's cousin owned the building and was like, I'm selling this thing, because it was always like there was like leaks and the AC would stop working, and there was just constant infrastructure problems with the building. And Sharna's cousin had enough and got a good deal on, like, I think it's a parking lot now. I don't even know what's there. I haven't been there enough to care since then. And Sharna had the place that IO currently is now, had that in the works. So we knew that the time was coming. We knew the date that it was ending. And she kind of opened it up to like, what are some things people want to do? And Tara and Tara had been like pretty close friends with Sharna for a long time, because Tara was talking about the drunk smoking teachers. Tara left classes and then was doing some other show that Sharna was at, and was like, "You're funny. How? Why aren't you taking classes?" And she was like, "If you want me to be honest, your teachers."
I was on stage and she asked me at another public show why I wasn't at her theater, and I was like, "Do you want me to tell you in front of this audience?" And she said, "Sure." To her credit, she said, "Sure," which is actually one of the reasons I like really respected her then, because she was like, "If you have critique, say it." And I was like, "Okay." And I told her, like, "I think your teachers are abusive. I don't think they're honoring the art. I don't feel safe there." And she was like, I'll let you take the highest level and I'll sponsor it." And I was like,
Wow.
"Okay."
Which was really cool for me, because Tara ended up joining my jumping into my level 4 or 5 class, which blew me away, because I was like, "Why are you here? Like, you're so like you're good at all this already." And it was just because she bailed because the teachers sucked.
Away, yeah.
But so like Sharon was like, what do you guys want to do? And we thought, we've never done a 2-person show we've never done a show together.
Isn't that strange? Over like so many years, yeah. We've done a number of things. Like, we were both in Second City at the same time. I was touring and he was on a boat, and like we did Comedy Sports together, and we did IO, like we did Deltones at a show called Chaos Theory, a Herald team that we loved, but like we had never just done a duo or like some kind of thing like that.
Yeah. So we put together a show that I lovingly called Italian Pallions.
What a great name.
I do not believe we marketed it as such, but still there it was.
We knew what it was.
Yeah. And it was a 2-person musical with Dave Asher on keys. And we
did it. It's kind of like we like pitched it to be like, how about closing week, like you said, and then it sold out. It like sold out without any like we were like, oh, okay. Yeah. It sold out the Del Close Theater, and we just did one.
And then that was like I'd say the seed of it, but the true birth of here was, we were both instructors for IO in Europe, and we went to Estonia and Bremen, Germany, and Riga, Latvia, and Copenhagen. And we were like, we can do shows while we're over there. Hey, let's do this show and just see if they have keys. And it was kind of weird at first, because 2 of the cities had a keyboard player and 2 didn't. So it was like 2 of them were just sort of like figuring out a 2-person show. But of the cities that had music, it was even more magical to just tell someone like, hey, you're going to play the music. It should follow emotion more than genre. And it's 50-50. We're leading you and you're leading us. Let's do it. And that became the birth of it, because it was so cool to have like those musicians just do what they could. And really have like, it's fun to have no rehearsal and still come away with a show.
It was so cool. Yeah, it was such a cool thing to kind of have ultimate trust and like random. We still do that to this day touring this show. Now we've been to 24 countries and I think 85 cities with that show, and it's our preference that we're like, hey, we don't want to meet you until before the show. We trust you. And it's like, you can see musical directors that are like magicians in their own right, of like, they will totally light up and be like, I can play what I feel, rather than like, I think a lot of musical improv at its impetus had like, this is the big song and this is the ballad and this is the blah. Like, we were like, we don't care. You don't have to play like a ska song in the middle. It's like, that'd be impossible, by the way. But I was like, it was fun and freeing to be like, if you feel something, we want you to play that, and you are our third person. And it was at that time, it was really new to do that, I think, when we started.
And we've really like seen some, like, we've had a lot of magical moments because of it. I remember there's this musician in, I think it was Houston, that was
Oh
like,
yeah, I remember.
who was like a very talented musician who was helping
His name is
improv out.
Tosin. Yeah.
Yeah, and was kind of like imagine that you're super gifted and maybe the only, I'm not saying this is what it was, this is just an example, I don't know what the level is there, but like imagine that you
Same.
were like classically trained and talently gifted and knew how to play awesome in every genre, and all you were doing was playing hoedowns. Like
Yeah.
like he kind of
Yes.
he kind of assumed when he was like, we explained it, and he's like, okay. And then on the first song he played, Tara and her goddamn beautiful pipes go rocking,
Oh.
and he was, I heard him on the side be like, oh, and then he did like he was like, oh, we can fucking go, all right, let's go, and he leaned hard into it, and it was such a magical show.
He like, I think at the end of that show, I still remember, that's funny, out of all the shows we've done, Rance, I still remember this. He like ran up to us at the end and like bear hugged us and lifted us up. Like he was like, whoa, oh wow, great. Like this is what it can be. And I like that kind of stuff is the stuff that you hold that forever, where it's like everyone's playing, everyone's like, this is magic. Like this feels magical. The overlap of people like choosing something together, and like it only lives tonight and it dies tonight. It was like, that's the kind of stuff we want to feel inside our show for sure. But even with the musical director, just to be like, we can do whatever we want. Like we can create whatever we want tonight. And I think he's right. He did like sit forward. It was like all of a sudden it was like, huh? Like, oh, hell yeah.
I think I remember him the most because he very like verbally in the show was like, oh, okay. Like just like like
yeah. And he's just a symbol of like, we've had a lot of cool things that we didn't expect to go well. We're like, someone's like, can I play guitar? You're like, yeah. Or they like bring out a harmonica. You're like, okay. Like, yeah, like we should be as pliable as they are. I mean, that's sort of again, like I would keep saying precious, but it is sort of like, you don't want to be too precious about the things you think should happen, because tonight it's something else. And like, we know people always ask us what our format is, because we're now like known as the original 2-person improvised musical. So people are always kind of like, what do you do? And we're like, we do what is happening tonight. We do the magic that happens tonight. Like, you're like, what? Like, it's not, I think that's sort of the fun of it. We know a loose structure. It's the same thing we were saying at the beginning of this podcast, that like, we know a loose thing that often happens. And that's our way of getting back on track together, but it doesn't have to happen. We've had a lot of weird shows, and they've been like the ones we remember, that's the ones we remember the best. Or like, remember that show where we had a show once where we went live inside the show on phones. Do you remember that scene, Rance?
Oh, no way.
Yeah, like we went like Facebook Live to be like characters, to be like, this whole thing's fucked up, and like it was streaming on our Facebooks as characters from each other's phones.
Yeah, it was like Tara's character was so like selfie involved.
Yeah, it was like
affecting our character's relationship. So I literally got on live because it was the only way that I could get through to her to like listen to me.
And then the audience started getting on live to like get through to me to get through to him. So it was like a fun, like hundreds of people. Wow. Everyone was like playing along, and like that kind of stuff is like what we want, where it's like, in a regular show as improv teachers, we'd never be like, get out your real phone. This is like an insane idea to like, but it's tonight, that night it was right. And it was like influential and exciting to be like, what if we fuck with everyone we know that can see us anywhere in the world? And they are like, what are they doing? Like, it just seemed like kind of performance art, and it was so fun. But stuff like that is like what we live for, where it's like, this is a weird one tonight, or like break the audience fourth wall, or we go out and join them, or something, something unusual.
Yeah. And if we're doing math, if we're doing a street, we just like, we understand why forums are important. We understand
they
that
are
it's
important.
Everyone on the same page. And we're also like, we're sort of like hashtag blessed that we can we have so much Herald and organic Herald training that if we're not finding a shiny pattern show up in here, it probably leans Herald, where it's like some scenes and then those scenes come back.
Yeah.
So we do have a pattern that shows up for us, and if it's not a strong new pattern, then it's probably a vibe we've been through before, so we can find it, but we're not like stuck to it. We're not like okay, when in scene 3, did you like this? We make
Yeah.
sure that we do the ballad.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the many things that I love about Here the Musical is that, and there are a lot of things I love about it, but one of the main things I love so much about it is that it's one of the few shows that I've seen where you are daring to be lovely. And I think you get kind of what I mean by that, because you've seen this
Wow.
before. There's so many improvisers where scenes are like, "You're a bitch, you're an asshole," and scene, you know.
Yeah.
But what I love so much is
Comedy
that you
gold.
two, yeah, exactly, right.
Got it.
I believe it was Del Close that said that. Anyway, uh, but no, really, I love how, you know, every time I see you guys, it's these lovely characters that are making these lovely connections all the time, and that always warms my heart. And I have to ask, is that by design, or does that always naturally happen for the two of you?
Wow.
Mm.
I mean, that's so nice. This is just I think this podcast is just making us feel great. So thank you for gassing us up. But
Yeah.
also,
Is
like,
that all it's for? Is this even
is that
going
what it's
anywhere?
for?
Is this an
Positive
intervention?
prank,
Is this a positive
positive prank
intervention?
podcast. I do think it is. How about this? It is something that we teach and may by accident be not by accident, but like we may be embodying because we teach it. I think one of the first things we do in our higher level core curriculum classes is insist that people drop conflict and play more peas in a pod, or like
Mhm.
and anyone that doesn't have that language, like Chicago, that's very Chicago terms, but like peas in the pod or same boat scenes, meaning like these people often chose to be together. So even if they're different, why are they here? Is like kind of a nice
Yeah.
way of thinking about relationship scenes that we do. Cause we certainly play a lot of different characters that aren't structurally the same, but they certainly make sense in the same room.
And
And
we've
I
played
wonder if that's like kind of the comedy of it. Yeah.
we've played scenes that are like, you're a bitch, you're an asshole,
Yeah.
TM, hashtag Del Close.
Yeah. But
But that are that but also in those other people doing those types of scenes, they kind of like lock into that, and then it just becomes butting two heads butting against
Yes.
each other. Whereas
Correct.
if Tara and I do it, like the thing that we'll often say is, if you're going to be mad at each other, can you be open to change?
Yes.
Like you suck. No, you suck. You suck. Well, you suck because of this. Oh shit, did I do that?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
if
yeah.
you can be open to the
Embody.
like, oh, I didn't even realize that's why you think I suck. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, then it
Additionally,
changes.
like, yeah, it changes. And additionally, I think also we're not afraid to embody the choice that we've been labeled, which I think is what younger, maybe like not even younger, but maybe just people that are kind of like hanging on to their own agendas, like improvisers may be doing, is that it's like if you yes, like the royal yes and is really the discovery of actors agreeing. So it's not this idea that like the characters must agree, it's that the actors agree upon whatever's true. So like if Rance and I are in a scene and he's like, you're a fucking asshole, I'm like, yes I am. I don't even have to say the words yes I am. I'm kind of like, what, me? Tell me why. Is it because I stole your car last night? It's like you lean into the label because that becomes more joyful. And that's nice that you called it lovely, because I think that even when we are hideous characters or like ridiculous characters or whatever it may be, comedic, silly, insane people, it's like there must be a truth to the, like they both can't be wrong. And I think that when you see actors hanging on to agenda, that's when that fighting happens and they start getting like, no. And I don't mean the literal word no, but it's more like we don't agree upon the premise or idea for the scene because no one's embodying the truth of what we've been told we are. So like I think we've gotten pretty good at being like, okay, I'll play that. We have thousands of improv scenes to do tonight on this. You know, it's like not being so worried about one scene. And maybe that's what happens when you're younger too. You have less shows. So you're like, I want to get this one right. And it's more about like, right, tonight, this is like only one moment. It's a present moment for whatever this is.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's probably it's becoming my main pet peeve, but it's now currently one of my pet peeves, is watching people try to shove their idea down their partner's throat and ignoring everything their partner's saying. I'm just like, anytime, like I have two trigger words, and those words are look and listen. If someone says that at the beginning of their sentence, as if there's a comma after it, and then their idea they're trying to cram down your throat, like you can be like, look, and I know what's going to happen. Look means, look, I don't really care about your idea because I can't let mine go. So I'm going to shove it down your throat and never give up on it. It's like,
totally.
I don't give a shit about your situation. Just like,
yeah. Situation too. I think that might be what it is like, if you're clinging to situation, you may not be open to what is happening. It's like you want to agree upon history or premise of the scene rather than find the truth with each other. So a lot of it is just that for us, I think, is the joy of the show, is like, who's this guy? Like, who are we playing? You know, like, what am I tonight? And being like fine with it is such a big, it really is like so this art form is so vulnerable. It's either not vulnerable or it is, you know, it's like the place where you can be the least vulnerable too, if you're just kind of making jokes and selling out your scene partners. But if you're doing it on a high level where you actually have like figured out what the tenets of this art form are, it's the most vulnerable. It's like, okay, whatever you're telling me I am, I'm going to say cool. And that is, we're going to discover more together. And we have like a bunch of like graphics on our theater walls. We have like little quotes up and stuff just to kind of like make people kind of remember to check in with themselves. And we have a Venn diagram all over our theater of just like, you and I entering the space and pinging off of each other is not the goal. It is the overlap. The overlap is the truth tonight. And so like, if we make a third thing, that is an improv show. If we made one or two separate things, that isn't really an improv show. It's sort of you coming in and doing stand up at somebody. And that's not like what we want tonight. We want to see the overlap of the third thing created.
That like vulnerability too is like, that's where all of this crap comes from, of like, I'm too scared to let go of reins of this premise in my head to just listen to you. And if you don't let yourself get to the point of trusting and building with your partner, then you'll never get to the point of realizing, once we get to that Venn diagram and that overlap, the actual situation will present itself that we both understand, and not the one that's in my head that I'm trying to force you to understand.
Rance said a cool thing in class years ago, and it always stuck in my head. I don't even know if you remember saying it, but he always says, premise will always show up to the party. And I think that is right. Like, if you've done the work well with the characters, the adventure will show up inside the scene, but you don't need it first. You don't need to be like, the factory's burning down. It's like, it's like, we don't know who these people are yet. You know, like, it might, I think you've done a good job of kind of introducing Rance that a lot of like every scene is like the potential of a good pilot. It's like we should care about these people before they have their adventure. Yeah.
The premise is an invited guest to the party, not a party crasher.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. I have gotten to speak to a lot of people who experience the Improv Retreat. And they always talk about how they come out of there changed for the better, and what an incredible experience it is. We kind of talked about it in the beginning of this. What has this experience been like, running this retreat and meeting hundreds of improvisers that are just out in the woods and in cabins and creating together? What has that experience been like for you two?
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It is like,
it's great while it's happening, and it is a lot of work to set up.
It's a lot of work. It's
I'm sure it is.
I'll like, just to handle the administrative part first, because that's the boring part. It really helped us learn how to curate a theater. I'll say that, because we got good at being like, how do we have these permissions, and what licenses do we need, and do we like, how do we make sure that people can physically and emotionally get around this camp, and how can we make sure that there's enough resources for eating and like, you know, housing people. And it's just like a lot of like stuff. It's a lot of emails. It's a lot of like weird questions prior, because people are like, am I really getting dumped in the woods? And you're like, kind of, yeah. I mean, like, it's a weird like, someone this year came, in fact, shout out to Kunal, and a new camper came this past year and was like, I thought this was a scam. And we thought it was the funniest thing. It became like the joke of camp that we were like, scam, like, you know, constantly, because he was like, we don't reveal the address before because of an insurance liability. So we have to like tell them the week of, like, we tell them where they're going, but then it's like a specific address and location. as it shifts or whatever. So he was like, I just, I paid money. And then I was like, I don't know, my friends from New York were kind of like, is it real? And we just thought that was the funniest because it does seem like that. But the camp itself is truly one of the most bohemian, bohemian yet professional things. I don't know that I know many things like it. It was conjured in a like drug soaked hospital stay for me, when I was diagnosed with heart failure. And I just was like really reflecting upon my time, when you're faced with like life altering things. I was in the hospital for like a week, maybe 7 to 10 days in Chicago. And I was sort of reflecting upon what Chicago was missing. And I was really fortunate and had hundreds of friends that were awesome and et cetera, doing cool shows all the time. But I was really reflecting upon the idea of like, I think when you look to get professional work out of this art form, which is great, you also kind of lose sight of the thing that your child body wanted, which was connection. So like, there's like, I just want to be with people that are like me, or like in a space where we're playful and joyful and like not worried about if Lauren is here tonight, like whatever, like that kind of thing.
Right,
and like you kind of like start to get like, oh fuck, like the Colbert Reporters here recruiting. You start to get like, you lose the like, I get to be with my friends tonightness. So it was conjured in this sort of like drug fueled days of the hospital of me being like, what if I made a thing that, where everyone could just be together and like not worry if they had eyes on them for the weekend, was sort of the idea of like, can we do high level professional Chicago style shows and have clinicians and workshop givers, facilitators come in and be counselors and really be there with us. Not like they come in and dip and they tell, do their 3 hours. It was like, let's all be together at a campfire and like remember why we want to be, I almost want to cry, like why we want to be like happy people, or like what draws you to art. And like, if we're there for 4 days, does something change? And it totally did. I think that like I told you earlier, LD, like when Rance was helping the dogs, I told Rance first as my friend, because I was like, what'd you say?
I missed it because of the dogs.
It's okay. I'll say it again. Like, I went to Rance and was like, hey, is this a horrible idea? Because I didn't know of anything like it at the time. And I just was like, is it crazy to gather like 100 people in the woods and have them be together all weekend that are from wherever? And he was like, it's a great idea. And I didn't know that Rance had this camp background at that time. So I was like, huh? Because I knew him as like a little like cave performer that liked being inside. So like,
and you probably did know that I tend to lean pessimistic more than optimistic.
Yeah,
so
truly, like that's why I went to Rance more than like any other friends I had at the time, because I think I thought like he'll be straight with me about like this could have some hiccups and this and that. And he was like, this is a great idea. And I was like, oh. So then I just knew that everything after that was just going to be minutia of like the day to day of getting that happening. And I went and scouted camps and like found these resources and stuff, but it was so hard. And then the first day we built a website. My brother helped me like get things live, and I launched it, and I figured like maybe 25, 50 people will sign up if we can like really push. And at the end of the first day, it was like 100. And I was like, wow. Oh, fuck. I need a bigger camp. I need to like, I like kept growing everything and kept.
This can't be a scam anymore.
Yeah, this can't be a scam anymore. I kept like calling the resort, like the places we were, the host facility, and being like, can you add 10 more? Can I add 10 more? Can I get another part of the campground? Can I keep folding out? And the first year, I think it was 230 people. And I was like, this is fine, but like, this is going to be, I have to cap it and I have to stop it here. Since then we've reduced it to like 125 to 150, and it is ideal at that spot. But like, because you can actually visit with every single person that's there. But I think the need for resources like this was so big, and that just that once a year dunk into remembering your why. And also being surrounded by people that like this year we had some of our best friends were there, where it's like, Namdi Ngwe, who's like one of our best friends in the world. He married us. Like he's one of our best friends in the world. Patrick Rowland, one of our best friends in the world. Like these people like came in and they're writing for the Amber Ruffin show now, but like they're just our dumb friends that we love. So like all these like high level resources are available to people, but it's also like they'll do bits by campfire because they are the same. You have to be, in order to be a counselor, you have to be kind and you have to be good. And like, that's the rule. Like, you can't be just good. You have to be the kind of person that will like breathe through somebody if they're like having a moment at a campfire, like it can't, it's just so, it's so interesting to watch people like turn into truly like evolved children. It feels like that kind of level of play. And by the first night, people are like crying. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. The support is so big from the whole group, and that's something that Tara curates really well. And we strive to have like everyone be like really supportive of everybody, and because of that, like all those breakthroughs you're talking about, or people who've come back changed, is because they're inundated with pure support for 3 days, which that's not enough. But what it does is it makes them push through that like vulnerability bubble that they've been holding on to. It makes them push through their like, I have to have this premise to survive, or push through this, I have to perform this one way to do this right, and just play and try and do stuff different than how they do it. If nothing else, realize what they're stuck in and have an opportunity to break out of it. And if they don't take that opportunity to break out of it at camp, at least they're now aware of what's holding them back to advance in this thing.
We've had so many people go back from camp and be like, my shows are so much better because I'm present. It's like something kind of opens up or unlocks in them that makes them start viewing their cast as contemporaries and artists and poets and geniuses. And then they're like, oh, I forgot, like I just was like trying to get through my Friday show, or that kind of thing where we lose all the joy. And it's like really, they go back to camp and they're like, it's all here now. Like it's all open to me. So that's really rewarding, seeing people go home again and like bring a piece of camp with them, I think, like that energy of camp. But also it's just so, it's so cool to see it change and evolve too, because I think that we have a way of accepting each other. And, when you're wearing like a sweatshirt and like your hair's like smells like leaves, and you're like taking notes in a little notebook and not on your phone. And like, I think something happens to people on a cellular level that makes them start to like care about each other differently, because they're like really taking each other in. And we have ways of protecting people. If like take a walk for a second, like go get a breath. It's a lot of art all at once, and it's a lot of people. I mean, like 150 people up in your like space is a lot. So we have ways of like we have a lot of like things in the program of like how we manage to take care of energy, which is really fun too. And like, it's so many bits and so many jokes. And in the last couple of years too, it's been cool to see, like we have a giant queer jam, we have a giant BIPOC jam, and it's like, it's not just 5 people out of 130, it's like 30 people, it's like they're big. It's like that, like major percentages of the camp are falling into these categories where you'll see like, the people that are traditionally honored on stages, like cis white people, are like, holy shit, like I've never just sat down to watch and enjoy a show that I'm not in, like I'm not, my face isn't there. And then they realize that their face is there because they're sharing it with humans. And it's like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's like, yeah, your face is up there because we're all the fucking same. Like, take care of each other. It's just so many life lessons all in a very short span of time. And people also, you think will never, what'd you say?
Speaking of life lessons, like if you're noticing that we're missing a cis white jam, that's been going on since the 50s. So you're okay. You're okay. You've had your time.
Yeah.
Every time we always have like one person that comes in new that's always kind of like, well, where's the jam for me? And I'm like, the jam for you is called Improv Everywhere for the history of time. Like you can probably let like the women plus non-binary people have a show, like whatever. Right. Like things like that.
Yeah, what a shame that more cis white people aren't represented, right?
Yeah, I think we're okay. We've got
As
it.
a cis white male, I want an opportunity.
Yeah. And it really is like, it is so wild that like probably in those spaces first where people have their guard down a little bit differently than a professional stage. I think that they do actually see other shows than what they would naturally gravitate towards to perform in. And then they're like, oh, like, I don't know, like it's just nice to see people accept that everyone has the same everyone has stuff to say, and it's like shared experiences are unilateral. It doesn't it's just, it's wild to me to see people kind of wake up to that, but every year you kind of catch more people that understand on a deeper level that it's like necessary work, so it's there's, I could go on forever only about the Improv Retreat because I'm always sure every year I'm not going to do it, and then and then like the next year we have like 100 people being like, "What are you doing?" Like they get so mad. So we're like, "Okay, fine." And then when we go, we're like, "We'll never not do this." Like every year we leave, like everyone's in a pile, crying and hugging, and being like, "I'm going to be a better human," and you're like, "Well, I guess we should keep doing this." Like that's the case.
Yeah. Man, I love you two so much.
Back at you. I almost want to interview you because I bet you don't get to be interviewed, but it's like it's just so nice to talk to you anyway.
I have a question for you, LD. How lucky did you feel when you walked into a store and saw that shirt on the rack?
Yeah, LD has
Yeah, I went to the one store that was selling an LD Madera Magic T-shirt, and I'm like,
what are the chances?
oh,
what are the
thank
odds?
God I look like that guy. I should get that shirt.
Can you imagine if they're like, I hope we find him?
Because we only made one of these. Now, actually, believe it or not, this was actually a gift from my wife. We have a friend who was making T-shirts, and my wife reached out to him and was like, "Can you please make here's his logo. Can you please make a T-shirt for him?"
That's so cool. She's cool.
Oh, Erica's totally cool.
She's
coolest
the
woman I've ever met.
Yeah. You were little lovers too, you little lovers.
Oh, shucks.
You little lovers.
Yeah.
This is a treat. Thank you so much. And and I can't believe you wrote out that dog segment. So thank you so much for everyone and anyone listening.
Oh, the dogs are staying in for sure.
Hell yeah. I don't know how they could be out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard to edit those guys out.
Yeah. I can't believe I made it through the dog part.
Yeah. But so now today, as you look back on everything that the two of you have gone through and how you've grown and what you've seen and both the beautiful and the ugly that you've experienced, what reflections do you have looking at your journeys and seeing where you are now?
Gosh.
I think a reflection I have is that like in the most positive way, nothing matters. Meaning that like there's always going to be something that will happen, good or bad. You don't need to necessarily strive towards, because either could happen anytime. It's good to have, it's like great to have an idea and great to have a thing, and let's plan this camp and what have you, but like there's like to embrace the joy as it hits you rather than constantly be missing the joy, and to deal with the travesties that happen rather than constantly be worried about the travesties that could happen, is what I'm getting at there. I guess a pretty zen thing. Like, can you stay in the moment and not be depressed about the past or anxious about the potential futures that will or will not happen. Whatever happens is going to happen, and if you accept that it's going to happen, then you can deal with it better in the moment when it happens.
That's a great answer. I think that's especially true for us as theater owners. I mean, it's interesting, like going from basically like performing artists that are luckily and graciously accepted into every space. We luckily still get to do that a lot. but like being people that are founders of a theater and making sure like little things are kind of dealt with every day has been a very stressful part of our lives that we didn't really foresee going on forever. Meaning like, we kind of thought like we open the theater and then it's open. And then it's like, oh yeah, we have to like do all the minutia that you don't think to do. And it really is like a task oriented, stressful kind of business to be in, especially through COVID, like just even that we haven't even talked about the closure and stuff, but like, just like making sure that doors can remain open for an artistic community that trusts you implicitly is like an incredible amount of stress and an incredible gift because it gives you purpose and it also is terrifying. So like being okay with the idea of like, we don't know what's next and we're okay. We're like just always like breathing through those moments. It really is improv like parallels. Of course, it's like the same kind of thing, but I think we're like that more in our lives. I also think that Rance and I have gotten more and more authentically ourselves over the past couple of years. And not that we were hiding ourselves by any means, but I think that we were sort of like making you have to be a certain kind of something to like own a business or like to go on site and be like the talent or whatever it might be. And I think we're getting better at being like, this is who we are and you like us, or we aren't going to adjust like our expectations of what we can be on site, because I think it's more important for people to see authenticity modeled than to worry about whether like you're, I don't know, fully professional. I think we were like, I think we are professional, but it's just nice to kind of step more into authenticity of like, I like these things and this is what I am. And it's okay if like, that's not like a typical CEO. We're not CEOs, like we're performers. So it's like, it's just trying to model that behavior for people to step into themselves too, because we get to be, we are so grateful and fortunate to be on stage. We get to be in front of hundreds of people every week. So it's like, I guess you look to those people, whether you should or shouldn't. It's like, you want to see authenticity so that you have the bravery for yourself. You see what you are, what you see, or you can model what you see. So I've really enjoyed that too, in addition to what Rance said, of just like being okay with being me and taking however many decades to do that, like really not worrying about if it's okay.
Amazing. Here's my final question. And I always ask this question at the end.
You better be.
And as they lean forward in interest. And I'll let you have a choice. You could choose to both of you answer this question individually, or you can answer this together. What is the one piece of advice that has served you two well that you want everyone else to hear?
My immediate answer is don't open a theater.
You said it was going to be like beautiful. I love that we're like, it's going to be really gorgeous, this answer. And then Rance is like, stop what you're doing and don't.
Like, if you love performing, find a way to do it. But if you're like, if you want to be like, here's where my improv brain is right now. It's July 1st, which means I have to schedule the fire extinguishers to be checked and certified for the next year. Improv!
Yeah. There he is. There he is. Did someone tell you not to start a theater? I'm just curious.
I did.
I did now. That is the first one.
No one ever told me that.
I was just curious if maybe I can see someone in Chicago actually saying that to like various owners saying that, because it is a lot hairier than you would expect. And I don't want to dissuade someone from making art in their space, but it's a lot if you have a dedicated space. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Not like just throwing up shows, do that all the time, but like dedicated spaces are their own thing.
And what was the question? I got so tied up in fire extinguishers. It was like,
I'll repeat the question. What's the one piece of advice that has served you well that you want everyone else to hear?
I know one that I don't know who said this, but it certainly was like kind of, it was said through the Vine many times when I was like, when things were sort of altering and changing in Chicago, is that, no one needs another blank. They need you.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like that's something that we definitely say now. So I don't think there's any like specific author to give credit to, but it is the truth of where comedy is going. And I don't think that I think people get so caught up in replicating what's worked for someone else. This is not a linear path. You're not going to med school. It's not like you do this law school and then you clerk and then you go become a lawyer at X. It's like you do art and then maybe you pick one of these lanes and then maybe that lane permits another lane. And maybe you think you should mimic someone that's done those things, but it's like, well, I mean, you can kind of look up to people or talk to them and kind of cut the gatekeeping for yourself, but you shouldn't ever mimic anyone else. You're you. I think it's important for everyone to have their own voice and find what's funny and beautiful to them. And that I love seeing less and less of people kind of be like, I have to get on a tour co at Second City because that's what you do to get X. It's like, well, now you can just go make a fucking TikTok if you want. I mean, it doesn't matter. It just Rance knows this, but around 2016, I think it was 2014 actually. I very brazenly was like, kill the gatekeepers. There are no fucking gatekeepers. Go make your own shit. It's going to die. I was really hardcore about it. I have no idea why. I have no idea why I got in this soapbox of go make your own stuff. Don't worry who's watching. Make it. Just go make what you want to make or do what you want to do. And I said it again around 2019 and then the pandemic happened. And it was like, oh my God, everything we've known to be the thing that was the thing you had to do is now literally closed. So everyone had to be like, wait, do I even want to do that? Everyone kind of started to question their own behaviors because they were looking to do some track rather than doing the things that spoke to them and enjoy. And I think people are so much better now at being like, well, I don't like that. Or I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Or I want to make X because it speaks to me and my soul and not I have to do, whatever, this project because someone will see me. It's you can have people see you in 5 minutes if you go make a fucking TikTok or whatever, a YouTube channel. It doesn't matter anymore. So I think it's really beautiful that people are kind of stepping more into their authenticity in that way too. And I love that general idea. I don't know if it's an expression of just people need you. People need your voice because they haven't seen you yet. So when we mimic other people, you're just a copy of a copy. Don't do that.
Funny that you mentioned Jim Carrey and the mask because that's all you heard back then was smoking.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
And we learn by watching people and maybe I guess it's a really normal thing. Babies mimic to learn, and that's okay. But when is the time where you put that down and start to say now who am I? Because I've gotten the confidence to do. I think that's a really important stage of artistry.
Oh, interesting.
Absolutely.
That just reminded me. I had one. Now I have two because of what Tara just said. The first one ties into everything that we go for, which is just start with emotion and the rest will follow. And it was taught by Dan Backetall. It was my level 3 teacher at IO, and he said that, and nobody believed him. We're all he's start with all I ever do is start with emotion, and you start with emotion, you'll find it. And everyone took it as yeah, but then how is it funny? How's it funny? And
right.
And there's so many notes we've discovered as we teach forever that are they're slow burn notes where it's 2 years later you're gonna be oh shit, this is just so and so said, and it takes you 2 years to get it. And that's what that note was of I'd still try to be funny instead of just leaning with the emotion. And the other one that Tara just made me remember is a thing that Mick Napier said in a workshop once was there's a point where you have to decide when you're done being the student. And
I love that.
When are you going to choose to be the master of what you're doing rather than just the student, which is important for everyone, because I've seen a lot of talented performers who are still kind of in the I need to take classes mode. And it's not that you shouldn't take classes, but it's
no, you should. Yeah,
you can feel the vibe of I'm not good enough. I need to take classes versus I have everything I need and I just need to prove it to myself that I can. This is my style.
You never stop learning, but taking ownership of space is a really important part of I learned more probably being a young teacher than I did as a student, because I remember being I have to now figure out a way that I didn't the teachers that didn't teach me what I know now, I have to figure out a way to like better disclose that information to my students. So I'm like, sort of like, I'm the catalyst, and that made me learn more too. It was like, this wasn't explained in a way that I understood it. So I'm going to try to explain it in a way that I would have understood it. And then you see, like, you start becoming better at things. And like Rance said, it doesn't mean you shouldn't always be interested in studious, but it's like, I think especially for people that aren't like the traditional improv school teacher, it can be especially hard for like a femme-bodied or BIPOC or differently abled teacher, non-cis, like what, like I think it can be really scary for them to be like, I'm going to try to lead something, because it's not what you see. And it's like, you're right, like that's an important lesson for all of us, what Rance said, but also for people that don't have the generosity of knowing that they should be curating a space, like that like weird wink of like, well, obviously a white straight guy's your improv teacher. It's like, well, it's nice to make sure that people know that like once they've taken like years and years of classes and done like hundreds of shows, well, it might be time to kind of be like, how can I help? What do I do now so that I see things differently through my lens too, like to serve yourself as well as students. It's like, that's an important part of what this is.
What a great little tune. Is that the dogs calling?
Yeah.
I think that might be the speaker line.
They've advanced.
Yeah.
Let me end this by saying that that's the dogs again.
Do not disturb. How is that possible? What is happening on this podcast?
Why aren't you answering my calls, Tara?
I don't know. I'm sorry I'm answering you. That's just me, that's who I am.
Yeah. I will end by saying that oftentimes there are two people who you see and you think those people should absolutely not be together. And there are two people that you see and you think, yeah, they could work out. But then there's two people that you see where you're like, they are absolutely meant to be together because they're perfect for each other, and that's definitely you two, Tara and Rance.
God.
Thank you. I was so nervous you were going to make us the first one.
Yeah. It's time to announce that we are getting a divorce.
Oh.
No way. He's the best.
Each of you are taking one dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Tara gets both.
Tara, Rance, thank you so much. I've enjoyed this so much. I love you
Us
both.
too.
Can't thank you enough for this. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for letting us love each other and you and everyone else. This is a beautiful little podcast you got.
Thank you.
Ho, ho, ho.
This was definitely a special experience. Huge thanks to Tara and Rance for sharing their story with me. They never cease to amaze and inspire me. And I hope all of you listening feel inspired as well. And if you are, please visit their website, nesttheater.com, to learn more about the Nest Theater in Ohio and to learn more about Hear the Musical. And if you're interested in attending the Improv Retreat, please visit theimprovretreat.com to learn more about the experience and how to register. And don't forget to visit my website, togetherbymyself.com, where you can learn more about my solo improv show, Together by Myself. Look for me on YouTube at Together by Myself and LD Madera Magic. Feel free to contact me if you'd like me to perform Together by Myself at your venue. And you can also contact me for magic shows for all sorts of occasions. Once again, thank you so much, Tara and Rance, and thanks to all of you out there for listening. Know that I appreciate all of you and wish you all nothing but the best. Take care, and see you next time on Improv and Magic.